for the impeachment complaints against the Vice President?
Actually, I have read a lot of impeachment complaints. I have made one myself for then COMELEC Chairman Andy Bautista. I was one of the complainants. I've also read as a lawyer about the impeachment complaint against then Chief Justice Corona and the impeachment complaint, of course, against President Erap. And this is the most ridiculous impeachment complaint
And
I've ever
seen.
seen.
Ridiculous?
Can you imagine some of the grounds being cited? That she threw a tantrum? That's one of the grounds. Believe it or not. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. That she refuses to comment on the issue of Chinese intrusion in the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea, that she was absent during a storm. I mean, these grounds are totally ridiculous because impeachment is not taken lightly. It is the removal from office of a national official that was elected at large by a majority of the Filipino people. So
and it's
the
perpetual
grounds, yes, have to be very serious and very profound.
Are there serious grounds? For example, well, the second one, betrayal of public trust.
Well, betrayal of public trust must be of such magnitude as to warrant the disenfranchisement of 32 million people in the case of Vice President Sara Duterte. So the mere fact that there are some questions about confidential funds, in fact, the mere fact that there are some questions about her performance as a mayor before she became a vice president cannot be made grounds because an impeachable officer is enumerated. Impeachable officials are enumerated by law. And when you say impeachable, the grounds for impeachment should relate to their performance of their functions as such impeachable officials, not before.
Okay. As an impeachable official, as a vice president is basically what you mean. So
yes.
You mentioned confidential funds. The vice president, to many congressmen and maybe even to the public, believe rather that she snubbed them. Obviously, she was definitely evasive because she didn't show up. And she refused to answer where she spent these confidential funds. Attorney, hence, dito po lumabas yung mga pangalan na Mary Grace Piatos, Cocoy Villamin, and others, Alice Crescencio ata. Aren't those bases to impeach, or at least grounds for impeaching the Vice President, when we're talking about 612.5 million pesos in confidential funds? Again, plunder is 50 million and above.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be brief because the COA has already said that there was nothing wrong. Even Senator Panfilo Lacson said that when it comes to confidential funds, code names are used. But I'm not going to debate the legal merits because I agree with the Vice President. Impeachment is more political than legal. You can see what happened in the case of Chief Justice Corona. Those charges were totally fabricated, and yet he was convicted by the Senate for the articles of impeachment. Of course, there is a cloud over that conviction because of allegations of bribery. In fact, some senators went to jail for alleged misuse of PDFs or development funds. But as you can see, it is a game of numbers. The legal merits of the case do not matter when you have the numbers.
Well, let's go to the House first because we all know it is a political exercise. In other words, it's a numbers game, di
Yes.
ba? But babalikan ko rin po yung sinabi natin, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina about the confidential funds. Does
Yes.
that not merit a ground for impeachment, not knowing where 612.5 million pesos went?
I'm sure, well, when it comes to trial, there will be an explanation. But as I have said, it is not for me to say, it is for the Senate to say. And again, the grounds are no longer legal when it comes to the Senate, but political. People may vote along party lines. They may vote out of personal vendetta, but then the legal merits take a secondary place when it comes to an impeachment trial.
And same with the House.
Yes,
obviously.
definitely.
Hindi lang po sa Senado, also in the House of Representatives. What do you think of this, the congressman saying it's not really part of the agenda, this impeachment complaint against the Vice President? You have the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, the members saying impeachment was really not part of the agenda. They really just wanted to look into the confidential funds. Do you believe that?
Well, it depends on the individual stand of these members of the House of Representatives. The members of the House and the senators are republics unto themselves. They operate on a truly independent level based on personal interest, party affiliation, etc. But the thing is, there is already a complaint. In fact, I believe there are 3 complaints already filed before 2 or 3. I really don't know. They say there is a 3rd one in the offing. But the thing is, the rules mandate that once filed, there are 3 days to put it in the agenda and a certain number of days for the Committee on Justice to debate it. I'm not going to bore your viewers with the details because I will sound like I'm lecturing. But then, number one, many are right, it is not part of the agenda. Secondly, the President has already expressed his disapproval of such a move. Now, while there is a separation of powers, it cannot be gainsaid that the President is the chief executive, and the President, as the highest official of the land, sets a legislative agenda. In fact, when a bill is certified urgent or priority by the President, it is expedited by the House. Congress moves. Yes. So, if the President exercises a strong leadership, then the legislature will take its cue from the President.
So let me ask you then, with the investigation on the Vice President and the confidential funds, and then the President saying no to impeachment, it's a waste of time, anong mapapala ng Pilipino dito? Ano ho ang inyong pakiramdam doon? Why? What happened along the way? If you were to guess, or give us a theory on what happened.
Okay, well, of course, your guess is as good as mine, but I believe that somewhere along the way, something happened along the way, to quote an Earth, Wind, and Fire song. But I think someone advised the President that the hearings involving the Vice President are divisive enough. So much so that if you
just divisive, you think?
Well, if you take it to another level, which is impeachment, then it will further divide the nation. Because, of course, they have the numbers in the House. If there is no legal obstacle, and if the House leadership is so minded, and I believe it can be so minded, it can easily transmit expeditiously the articles of impeachment to the Senate by the plenary voting by a third.
One-third.
Yes, but to transmit it.
Diretso na
but
po
then,
yun.
what will happen? That trial will precede everything else in the country. It will precede inflation, Chinese intrusion, EDCA sites, unpreparedness for natural disasters, etc. It's going to take so much precedence that the country will be paralyzed. And if you paralyze the legislature, and then you basically paralyze a third of the government machinery.
So are you saying it's about timing?
It's not about just timing. It is about the effect on the body politic. It could leave a scar that may not heal well into the next decade. So that is the fear here, because if you notice, some of the scars that were left by the impeachment of President Estrada have not yet healed. They're still there. The effect on the national psyche will be well nigh incapable of being healed.
The Vice President, during today's press conference, I believe said that she's getting her lawyers ready, or her lawyers are actually ready. Even she said, I think last year when she heard about a possible impeachment complaint from Congresswoman Franz Castro. Has she reached out to you? Are you going to be a part of her legal team?
I don't know yet. I do not know the Vice President. I have not met her. I've seen her from afar a couple of times, but that is about the extent of our interaction. So it's up to her. As lawyers, we really cannot volunteer our services. They have to be secured. Yeah. There's even an ethical rule against that. It's called ambulance chasing. So we will wait for them to reach out.
Yes. All right.